Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. My name is Nick Chernoff, and I have the pleasure of being your guide through this journey of technology and social media. I need to start by saying, take a deep breath. Realize that everything is going to be okay. We're going to set you up for success. We may overwhelm you a little bit, but we're in this journey together. I want us to understand that technology is here to stay, and we need to be more involved into the world of technology and social media when it comes to understanding how our youth are using it for not only good, but bad. How to have proactive conversations with your youth who are starting off using technology or already years ahead of most. We're going to set you up for success today. We're going to have a discussion. Some of it's going to be awkward. Some of it's going to be a discussion that you might not want to have right now, and that's okay. We're providing to you suggestions. And we have teamed up with the Texas Schools Safety Center to provide you this training today because we see the importance of not only having a conversation with our youth about how they're using technology, but ensuring that their parents are involved as well. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this journey. Most importantly, have some fun.
What if I told you I'm part of the biggest team in the world, but you've never heard of us?
We like and post, snap and share. We're the texters, the grammars, the go-getters of this generation. Our team doesn't win through points and touchdowns.
Our field is our phone, and we win by using it for good.
What if I told you our devices are our voices, and we use them to do great things, to spark movements, to follow role models, to share our strengths?
Parents call it social media. We call it being social.
What if I told you that our team needs coaches, role models to help fill our feeds, who use their devices for good? Friends, parents, teachers, leaders, show us your best moves. Everyone tells us the don'ts. Don't post this, don't share that. Teach us the do's, how to deal with bullying, who to friend and who to block, when to put our phones away. Help us play our A game.
What if I asked you to join our team?
Because you can.
You have the power to control your device instead of letting it control you. You too can turn it on and turn it up to spread good over hate, to download so you can uplift, to cyberback those who are cyberbullied, to strengthen your reputation, to represent something bigger than you.
To change our world for the better.
One post, one snap, one text at a time.
We
We are the biggest team in the world.
And we're only growing.
Are you with us?
And the Social Institute is a great resource of material. Just want to introduce you to Safer Schools Together, the organization that is working hand in hand with the Texas Schools Safety Center to provide you this training today. Safer Schools Together is a North American-wide organization that has offices in both Canada and the United States. And we work 24 hours a day to ensure that schools are kept safe. You'll be able to visit our website, and we'll provide you with the link at the end of today's session. So let's get started. I'm sure many of you remember this sound. Very nostalgic, bringing back some traumatic stimuli. But over the years, technology has revolutionized our world and our daily lives. You know, technology has created amazing tools and resources, putting useful information at our fingertips. And modern technology has paved the way for multifunctional devices like the smartwatch and the smartphone. Computers are increasingly faster, mobile, portable, and higher powered than ever before. With all of these revolutions, technology has also made our lives easier, faster, better, and more fun. Looking back at the 90s, the internet was a new commodity to many, but not all. Households and businesses began to gain access to the internet. For people living during that time, the sound of this painfully slow dial-up signal connecting to the internet is not such a fond memory, but one that I love to play in schools when we go in and have a proactive conversation with our youth on how to behave online. And we know that this generation has changed. No longer can we say, I don't use social media, I didn't grow up with it. As a parent, as an educator to our children, we need to be involved. Parents need to become better informed on how their children are using technology, and more importantly, how to support them in conversations related to social media and cyberbullying. Technology is not going anywhere, so try to introduce it into your home and your children's lives at a pace you feel comfortable relative to their age group. Enforce moderation and balance instead of prohibition. It's our responsibility as a parent to give them the tools they need to succeed. Children need to understand that privacy settings don't always keep things genuinely private. Anything you or that they share online will become a part of their digital tattoo forever. There are third-party websites out there right now dedicated to screenshotting everything we do. But remember, at the end of the day, they are growing up in a different world than we did. They have constant access to the outside world with a flow of information being updated on their social media feeds by the minute. So let's talk about family. And more importantly, let's provide you some family suggestions. These are things that we have learned from parents throughout our travels within North America. We're never going to tell you how to parent, but again, these are suggestions. The one thing that we suggest for you to do is to educate yourself on the applications, games, and platforms your children are using. See, it's important to understand specifically what your children are using, as there are so many platforms out there that will overwhelm you. And this is a great starting point where you can go into the next room while your child is playing a game. You can go to the couch while your child is on TikTok and ask them about it. Have them share with you how that platform or game works, and maybe get a little bit more insight on the other platforms they're using. Ask them for advice. Ask them how the platform works. Go into Google, do some research, go into YouTube. Type in YouTube, how does TikTok work? How does Fortnite work? Educate yourself is the most important thing that you can do. The one thing we're also not going to suggest, we're going to highly encourage, is you do not allow technology in the bedroom of your son and daughter. I hear some parents say, my child needs a phone in their room for an alarm clock. Ridiculous. Go down and buy him a physical alarm clock with bells and whistles on the top. Don't rely on that device. Doing so fosters a sleep association. It's well documented that TV in the bedroom, applications, devices in the bedroom lead to less physical activity, obesity, lower grades, and also sexting is more likely to happen at night as well. When your child is in their room, under the cover of darkness, under the comfort of their own room, parents not there, more likely to engage in risky behavior. And we're dealing with kids as young as grade 5. Sexting. Yes, grade 5. And that's a conversation we're going to have today. Have a central charging station in your house. So the phones can rest at night in that central charging station, and our children can rest at night. And you think, if our children have that device next to them, and they put it down and are ready to go to bed, and all of a sudden they close their eyes, and they hear a phone go off of a notification, do you think they have the willpower to just say, you know what, I'll check that notification in the morning. It doesn't really matter right now. Well, no. It's called FOMO, or fear of missing out. They want to know what's going on. Put the device in another room, as well as that blue light that's being emitted. What it does with that blue light, it messes with your body's ability to prepare for sleep because it blocks a hormone called melatonin that makes you sleepy. And please remember, at the end of the day, you are the owner of that device and you are lending it to your child. You pay the bill, so you should implement the rules. Reiterate, technology is a privilege, not a right. Start to implement no technology at meals, no technology on the ride to school. Great place to talk with them. Teach your child to ask permission to use technology. Limit weekday technology until their chores and their homework is done. For the younger children, download and buy the games yourself. Don't let them do it or work with them. Oversee search history. Keep family computers in a public space. Don't restrict technology. Just learn to use it wisely. You know, moderation is the name of the game. We also encourage family conversations. Have those family dinners like we said. Call a family meeting. Your kids are able to follow rules but are much more likely to abide by these rules that are fully understood. Asking all family members to contribute a rule list. Have your children come up with rules and talk about the positives and the negatives that go along with that rules. This meeting can be a forum for explaining the rationale of all rules agreed upon. Don't forget to make rules for yourself as well and ask your kids to help enforce them. Have a consequence system where if you are on your phone at inappropriate times, such as while driving or at dinner or during family time, then you have to pay some sort of fee that maybe goes into a jar that the money will go towards a movie night for the family. Something like that. And keep them accountable as well. We really try to promote these family device-free times, working together to discuss things that are going on in life. We are so constantly connected to our devices that individuals these days are having a hard time reading body language because they're getting all their conversations and communications via text. We really try to promote those device-free times throughout the day and throughout the week. And maybe this is something that you shouldn't do at dinner.
Like.
Guys, honestly, 5 more minutes.
Like.
I'm sure that sounds like some of our households, but a funny commercial. It's important for us to laugh, and commonsense.org is a great resource of material that I would encourage you to go to. Go with your children to learn more. Have you ever looked up from your phone and wondered where the past 30 minutes have gone? Maybe even that hour or two. If so, you're certainly not alone. According to Moment, which is a time tracking app with more than 4.8 million users, the average person spends nearly 4 hours on their phone every single day. That's 1/4 of our waking lives. And much of that time is spent scrolling social media. First off, we need to remember why social media companies would want to get us hooked in the first place. Social media is free to use because we are not the customer. Instead, advertisers are the customer, and our attention is what's being sold. So think about this for a second. The more time you spend on a social media platform, the more opportunities there are for that platform to show you ads. Every minute you spend on social media is a minute spent making money for someone else. But while we're busy burying our noses in our news feeds, a strange thing is going on in Silicon Valley. You know, tech insiders have begun to speak out against some of the very products they helped to create. The Center for Humane Technology at humanetech.com is a great resource and a wealth of information where you can go and spark a discussion and conversation with your child. They've just recently put out a Netflix documentary called The Social Dilemma. And I would encourage you to watch that with your children and have an ongoing discussion how these technology companies are racing for our attention. See, social media algorithms, which you may or may never heard of, are important to know. So basically what you see when you're scrolling your social media is a combination of all your behaviors within that platform. It's the friends you interact with most, whose stories you watch, people you are tagged in photos with, and of course, the type of post that you like and comment on. With the large amount of content that you engage with online daily, these algorithms are able to get to know you and can cater content based on the continuous stream of data it receives from you. And in order for social media sites to generate revenue, again, they turn to advertisers. And these algorithms help social media generate revenue by placing advertising strategically between your viewed content. It explains why social media companies would want to capture our attention for as long and as frequently as possible. It's because it's profitable. And to do this, they build features in their apps that manipulate our brain chemistry. These tricks are borrowed straight from casinos and slot machines, which are widely considered to be some of the most addictive machines ever invented. So consider the pull to refresh feature common to social media applications, where you drag the screen downwards and it prompts the screen to refresh. Not only is the action itself similar to pulling the lever on a slot machine, but it takes advantage of our attraction to unpredictability. Psychologists, they call this intermittent reinforcements. Sometimes when we check our social media, there's something exciting waiting for us, like a reward. Sometimes there's not. It's the unpredictability that keeps us coming back. Once you're in front of a slot machine, the casino wants you there. That's why most casinos are windowless with no clocks. They always have someone coming around giving you refreshments. Once you're trapped in the spiral of infinite scrolling, social media apps don't want you to look up. That's why their feeds are deliberately designed to be endless. Video platforms like YouTube and Netflix use the same technique. The auto-playing feature. Maybe you're watching an episode on Netflix, you're really invested into that episode, and it starts to autoplay the next episode. So what's one more episode before bed? Cutting into our time, cutting into the things that we need to do. When you go into YouTube and watch a video, how easy it is for us to just watch more and more. And everything that we see is designed in a way to be addictive to us. That sparks our interest in something that we want to see because that platform knows about us and has built a profile on us and is going to show us things that we want to see. Every time we check our social media feeds and find something novel or exciting waiting for us, our brains release dopamine, which tells our brains that checking social media is worth doing again. And when you add in notifications and alerts, it isn't long before our brains begin to release dopamine just in anticipation of checking our phones. There's no shortage of dopamine triggers baked into the design of social media apps. You know, the like button takes advantage of both our desire for social validation and our love of seeing our score. You know, gamification elements such as Snapchat's streak feature, which allows you to message someone else, and you have to message that person within a 24-hour period consecutively for your streak to go up. The more times you message that person, the more times your streak goes up. It forces you to go into the business of Snapchat. Because if you don't go into Snapchat and send a photo or video back and forth between that individual you have a streak with within a 24-hour period, your streak goes down to 0. This is very, very important to some of our youth. I've met students who have a streak of upwards to 1,100 days. That's 1,100 days of consecutive conversation between them and another friend, and they haven't gone more than 24 hours without getting into that application. Because if they went over 24 hours, their streak would go down to 0. Our phones and apps also take advantage of our inherent social impulses and anxieties, including our fear of missing out, FOMO, and the impression that we need to reciprocate when we feel someone has done something for us. The clearest outcome of these notifications is that they keep us engaged with our devices. You know, many neuroscientists and psychologists are worried about the negative effects of this technology, from the way smartphones appear to affect our ability to concentrate, to the potential correlation with rising rates of mental illness and suicide in teens. There's also a fair amount of research detailing how notifications themselves distract users or even cause stress. You know, how does the red notifications make you feel on the screen right now? You know, a lot of notifications we need to dismiss. So why is this red? Because red is a color we are already programmed to think is really important. This is an alert we need to deal with. How does this make you feel compared to red? You know, of course, there's still a lot of notifications there, but the red to blue. Isn't it interesting that something so little can have a big difference on how we feel? So let's talk about social media. Let's talk about the importance of knowing that the internet may forgive, but it never forgets. Something that came out recently within a variety of social media applications is the ability for you to request a copy of your data. And what I mean by that is every picture, every video, every comment, every private message, every search within that platform is saved on the servers of that platform you use. You upload a photo on Instagram, you upload a photo on Facebook, you private message friends on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Everything is saved, regardless if you delete that photo or not. So a lot of students will say, oh, I'll upload a photo, but I can delete it when I want. For sure. But what's to say that a friend hasn't screenshot that picture? And they have to have the understanding that every picture that is uploaded is always going to be stored on the server of the platform that they are using. And so what I would encourage you to do is work with your child and request a copy of your data and their data back. It's as simple as going into Google and typing in how to request your data download from, and just fill in the blank. Follow the steps within that platform, and you will receive a copy of every picture, video, comment, private message, and even the ones that you've deleted. It really stresses the importance that the internet may forgive, but it never forgets. And this is a good activity to do with your child. Let's talk about the importance of how much we're scrolling and the idea that sometimes we may come across fake news or misinformation. I think this is an important conversation we need to have with not only ourselves, but with our children, and how to deal with it, and how to make them become more critical thinkers and not just scroll past a post and share it right away and believe everything they see. See, one thing that is happening right now is with all the information, it's very easy for an individual to look at that and just pass it along. So here are some ideas on how to spot fake news or misinformation. See, one thing that is happening right now that is quite interesting is that various social media applications will also bring up various fact-checking abilities. This was just posted to our platform, and the content that you are looking at may not be fully accurate. We're holding various social media applications accountable for what is being posted on their platforms. But some things might still fall through the crack. And so that's why these applications, and more importantly, these websites, are four out of many that you can go to and work with your child the next time they come across an article that they may deem to be fake or misinformation. And I think it's important before we start to spread that post, which could be misinformation, that we do our own fact checking. Snops.com, factscan.ca, factcheck.org, hoaxslayer.com. Work with your children. Play around with some of these websites and really understand their capabilities. Again, work with your children and have an open, honest, and ongoing dialogue with them. So I think it's important to have a conversation about what's known as a digital tattoo. We used to call it here at Safer Schools Together a digital footprint, but we know that footprints wash away. We know that footprints can leave. But with a tattoo, it's permanent, public. And at the end of the day, having a conversation with our children about the importance of a digital tattoo is so imperative. And a digital tattoo is a word used to describe the trail and traces that people leave behind online, on social media, on websites and chat. And this becomes your online identity and is what tells a story about you. It helps build your online reputation. It's important to be aware of what a digital tattoo is because anything posted online is permanent and stays there forever, regardless of it being deleted. You know, it's very important to build a positive digital tattoo. But how? You know, the answer is somewhat simple. And we really need to have a proactive, ongoing conversation with our youth. We need to think before we share. Become critical thinkers. We need to think about the impact that that post will have on others and ourselves down the road. And this is where our job as a parent comes in. We need to be more involved in our children's lives and keep an ongoing, open line of communication. Because at the end of the day, nothing is private anymore. Everything that we put out there, as I always like to tell our students, our children, it's permanent, it's public, and it's searchable. So I think it's important for you as a parent to really understand what a username is. A username is your online identity. You know, a lot of students, a lot of children don't really call themselves by their real name online. They have that online identity. They create their online brand. You know, no matter what age your child is, when you allow them to start using these applications and platforms, it's important that they know and understand how to be safe online. You know, even in their small bubble of connections, it can be a very dangerous place. Of course, I don't want to talk all about the doom and gloom because there's some amazing things, of course, as I always talk about, that go along with social media and technology, but we need to have safeguards in place. The first step in using the internet safely is choosing the right username. There's definitely a right way and a wrong way to do this. So here are some tips and tricks for you to work with your children to create the best username possible. The first thing to keep in mind when your child chooses a username is to not use their real name. This may seem like a very obvious safety precaution, but you'd be surprised how many people use their real name online. Maybe for you as a parent, you have and go by your real name online. When you use a platform and social media, it's important to maintain some sort of anonymity, especially for our younger users who are just starting out. It's about protecting their personal information. And your username can give away too much. So avoid using a username with your location in it. It's best to avoid using anything that could give away the name of the city, the town, the school, or even the team that your child plays on. And to be extra safe, your child's username should not even contain the state abbreviations. Because again, anything could be considered that's personal identifiers, like putting your state username could just locate where your child is at. It could be used to track down your child. And if your child chooses a username that's unusual, don't use it across multiple platforms. Doing so makes it easier for someone to track your child down. That unique username that's different from the rest, easier to find. Knowing your child's username is important. Work with your child. Some parents want to be, friends with their children at the early stages of their social media lives, and I think that's important. But remember, it's not to spy on your children, but to make sure they are making smart decisions. Please also keep in mind that we're seeing an increase in students creating multiple accounts, which students refer to as their spam accounts. That main account that mom and dad know about and want to see, and that one hidden, which is mainly just for their friends. I think it's super important as well to talk really about the importance of a digital tattoo and your digital reputation, because it's just that. It's going to be down the road your digital resume. And we know that colleges, jobs, and universities will be looking at your digital resume and take that in consideration almost as high as that paper copy resume that you submit to them. It's super important that we are not just creating our paper copy resume, but our online resume. And it's not just the photos that we share. We need to be sure that we're checking the tagged posts as well. Let's take a look at some highlights from around the world. And I wouldn't even say these are highlights. These are, unfortunately, times where students, and this is a great learning piece, and I would encourage you to research some lost opportunities from some hardworking students who have posted things online that they normally wouldn't say in the real world. Now, we know that life is about making mistakes, but it's all about living and learning from these mistakes. So you need to stress to your children that they're going to make mistakes, but if they make mistakes online, it's a little bit more permanent. However, it can't be all doom and gloom. We can't tell our children that if you make a mistake online, it's going to be there forever. And that is an opportunity, but we need to give them some ideas on how to deal with it. If they have something online right now that they're not proud of, have them delete it and give them some conversations to have when they go for their first interview and maybe that recruiter brings up a negative post. If that recruiter does bring up a negative post down the road and your child takes a look at that post and recognizes it to be the one that they've deleted years previous, well, have your child at least own up to it. Yep, that is a post I put out there, but Mrs. Recruiter, if you look at my current social media page, you'll realize that that post or anything like that is not on my current page because I removed it and I realized that that post was negative, didn't represent myself in a positive way, and I've lived and learned from it. And that's what our jobs, colleges, that's what we want to promote to our kids, that they are going to make mistakes, but it's all about how we live and learn from it. But what about ourselves? Don't forget about your own social media presence. Are we being the best role models for our children? Are you a sharent? Are you that oversharing parent? Yes, that's an actual coined term now. You know, we see right now students, children being posted on their parents' social media accounts. You can watch children grow up on their parents' accounts. And then, about 13, 14, when that child eventually gets their own social media presence, they post photos of them growing up there. Parents are programmed to talk about their kids. The whole business of caring for, guiding, and witnessing the development of your offspring is such an all-consuming aspect of life that it's almost impossible to exclude it from your interactions with others. But we need to give our children a fighting chance. What if your child doesn't want to be on social media down the road? What if they're looking to go into a job that requires an undercover role? Are we modeling the best behavior for our youth? The next time you take a photo of your child, ask for permission. Yes, permission. This helps teach digital consent. When we start to talk about the worst case scenario is, unfortunately, there's a lot of negativity in this world. Yes, there's a lot of bad people out there. There's a lot of good things, but our job is to understand the negatives. And we're seeing at times these very young children that are being posted on their parents' accounts. It's very innocent. But especially if your accounts are open and public, where are those posts going? And we need to be aware of that. So I want to share with you how to do a basic background check. And I want you to do this on yourself and work with your children to understand what is out there about them already. When you put your name into Google, your first, your last, you're going to find everyone by your first name and everyone by your last name and give you thousands of results. But I want to share with you the impact on quotes, quotation marks. The next time you search for your name and your child's name in Google, put it in quotation marks because it allows Google to find exactly what's in between those quotation marks. And, narrow it down, put the city or state that you live in, put your address, phone number, and email into Google, and see what's out there about you already. The biggest thing that is going to yield the most amount of results is searching yours and your children's usernames. You also might find other accounts from your children that you didn't even know existed. Maybe they're spam accounts. But it's working with your child to understand what is out there already, how to protect yourself, how to protect your children, and most importantly, you are working together, doing this with them, and keeping that ongoing dialogue happening. The open line of communication. Make that communication consistent and always try to have that proactive conversation with your children. This is a great start. Have some fun with it. So I need to start by saying that long before online social media networks were invented, people were oversharing. They were oversharing at the gym. They were oversharing at the office. They were oversharing at dinner parties. It's part of human condition that some of us just tend to overshare. Although some people have a carefully curated group of friends and family on social media and only allow them to see their posts, this isn't very typical. For most users, public posts and friends lists that number into the hundreds are the norm. People often don't give much thought to the strangers out there who are following their every post with intense interest. We're seeing everything from vacation photos, planning a vacation, check-ins to various establishments that show you're not at home, and announcements of exactly where you are and maybe when you're going to be home from that vacation, heading out to take the kids to school, and then it's off to work. Great day ahead. One of the dangers of oversharing on social media is that strangers not only know when you're away on vacation, they also get to know your daily schedule and when you're going to be out for an extended period of time. This is like broadcasting to all the thieves in the land that your home is unoccupied and vulnerable. There's something I want to talk about, what's known as social engineering. It's a technique used by criminals and cyber crooks to trick users into revealing confidential information. The data obtained is then used to gain access to systems, carry out actions to determine about a person. This practice basically exploits the trust that the users unwittingly place in criminals, who often pose as a company employee, a colleague, a friend, or a boss. Under the disguise of checking or protecting the user's information, the criminals ask for confidential information, which can then be used to steal the victim's identity or money, multiple things. So how does social engineering work? It's still one of the most common means of cyber attacks out there because it's very efficient. To criminals, the user is the weakest link in the security chain. Users are normally targeted in two ways, either over the phone or online. By phone, criminals may post as employees of a company or organization saying, I'm the bank and you need to verify a few questions for your login. The most common fraud technique on the internet is what's known as phishing. This technique, users reveal data because they think they are on a trusted website. Another way the social engineering is used online is using attachments to emails from people known to the victim. Something called malware is used to attack users' address books, sending emails to various contacts. So we're going to talk about some of these things, but I really want you to understand with your own social media, are you giving away too much without even realizing it? We see many fun games, and with Christmas approaching and throughout the year, we see fun games like this. What is your elf name? Just fill in the first letter of your first name and the month you were born, and you will get your elf name. It may seem harmless at first, but what if we start to match more content from your social media? With sports coming back and on TV, maybe you're someone that's gone out and purchased that nice TV. Maybe I'm someone who's looking at this and I can't afford it. So what type of information are you putting out there that will lead me to exactly where you have this brand new TV? Let's take a look at a post like this. We need to train people and train students and train adults to look at what is in the background of a photo. The caption reads on this post, "Mom got a Volkswagen Beetle and I'm kind of in love and had to flex it, duh." Putting it out there for the world to see. My job is to look at what's in the back of the images. What can lead us to this house? Well, if we take a look in the top right corner on the street sign, and if I were to put this into Google Maps, you might be able to determine exactly where that individual lives. One big thing that we're seeing right now is the proud parents posting their child the first day of school. But what type of information leads me to exactly what school they go to? Or the name of that student? And maybe if I'm someone who has malicious intent, what's stopping me from phoning this school, pretending I'm someone I'm not, to maybe get this child out of class, pretending I'm an uncle, I'm a cousin, based on the information I get from your social media pages. We need to think before we post, especially for those of you working online at home. A photo like this is very, very dangerous. Not only does it help me identify your habits and things that you're into, but what type of personal information is on the desk? Although you may not be able to view everything in the binder or on the computer, there's various software that you can upload this image to and get a higher copy to be able to look exactly what's on that page. You know, it's all about attention to detail. Take a look at this post of a student proud of the clean job that he did on his truck. But I look at what's in the background. And as he was posting this photo, he was sharing his address. And now his address leads to the front of his house. We need to be mindful on what we're posting. It's all about awareness. This is not meant to scare anyone. It's all about education. I've had a great conversation with my family, my friends, my grandparents who are in their 90s. We need to be all working together and helping each other out. So the next time you see a friend oversharing, let them know. We need to work together to protect those around us.
Using social media to brag that you're at a game is just part of being a football fan. Reading these posts to find out who's not at home, that's just part of being a burglar. Allstate Insurance found that 78% of burglars are using social media to find their next target. To warn the country, we took over one of the biggest nights in college football and made an example of one real oversharing couple. While Matt and Shannon were tweeting from the game, our social-savvy burglar appeared in their house and started selling stuff live on the internet.
I may be the burglar, but you're stealing this from me for $20. Buy Matt and Shannon stuff now at mayhemsale.com.
This is the Mayhem Sale. January 1st, surrounded by 74,000 people and with another 30 million tuning in on TV, Matt and Shannon's night took a turn.
I'm kind of a social media nerd. I'm also kind of a burglar. So when the people who live here posted online from tonight's game, I did what any self-respecting nerd burglar would do.
From the moment the first commercial aired, the sale was on. 8 commercials and 18 online videos announced every overshare special. Twitter tied to television, tied to e-commerce, as we sold over 250 items to real people in real time. Yes, we sold a 60-inch TV for $1 an inch, the stainless steel fridge for $99, the washer, dirty laundry, crystal crap furniture, power tools, a pink stapler, this thing, and more, even down to the last cotton swab. And oh yeah, a $34,000 car for just $200.
Somebody buy it now before I ditch it in a lake.
As people caught on, Mayhem Sale rose to the #1 trending hashtag in the world.
If you share every detail of your life on social media, this could be you.
Our phones are blowing up. This is
By the end of the night, everything had sold out, and in a matter of hours, Allstate had taken an issue that was off America's radar and made it national news.
I don't know if you guys heard about this.
Were you at the Sugar Bowl? Did you post about it on social media?
But this wasn't just a social media stunt. The campaign contributed to an 18% increase in home insurance sales.
So let me share with you what happened to one oversharing family. And of course, we never blame anybody on what happened. It's always about living and learning from other mistakes. And this is something that you can maybe go in and do some research with your child. Go online. Find out when individuals have overshared way too much information and it's been used against them. You learn with your child and maybe learn from the mistakes of others to protect yourself and those loved ones around you. Stacey Grant, she posted to Facebook. She checked in to her vacation spot. She gets a message from a Facebook friend a few days into her vacation. And the friend says, "Wow, Stacey, you just checked into the exact same resort that I checked into last year about this time on spring break, but this year, unfortunately, I can't afford it. I can't go. The family wanted to stay home this year." And you know what? When you go next door to the resort beside you, you can go swim with dolphins. Up the road, you can zip line and rock climb. There's so many cool things. Make sure you take tons of photos. And hey, you know what, Stacy? I know we've never really hung out, but maybe we should hang out when you get back from your vacation and compare stories of being at the exact same resort. Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. Oh, by the way, when do you get back from your vacation so I can set time aside? And Stacy says, I'm back Saturday. Perfect, I'll see you then. Stacy goes back to her vacation, enjoys some rest and relaxation on the beach with her family and friends. And at the end of her trip, she comes home only to find out, unfortunately, that her house has been broken into. And what ended up happening was that individual was organizing the robbery. And so, as anyone else would, they called the insurance company. And the insurance company, they started their investigation. What happened? What led up to someone breaking into this residence? And they ended up finding this publicly available social media post online. They got back to the Stacy Grant family and unfortunately denied their insurance claim because of how much information was overshared, pretty much inviting complete strangers into your house. So be mindful on what you're posting. Be mindful on what you're sharing. Go on vacation. Take tons of photos. But maybe it's time that you wait to post upon your return. Have this ongoing conversation and discussion with your children, because what they tend to do is they want to prove to their friends that they're at the beach, that they're at the nice pool, the nice sunny weather, on vacation. It's so important that we have this ongoing discussion. Do some research with your children and understand how to better protect yourself. All right, folks, let's switch gears for a second, but let's talk about something that is super important when it comes to passwords. This may seem like a very simple task. I sign into an account, I create a password, but how do we create the best armor for our accounts that does not allow anyone else in? First step, ensuring that there's passwords on your tablets, your phone, your computer, your iPod, your iPad, your whatever you have in front of you. Putting the best protective armor, as I said, allows you to keep things safe and secure. Think about this for 1 second. What happens if you lost your phone? What happens if you lost a device? How much information is on the phone? And what happens if it got into the hands of a complete stranger? This is a conversation that you need to have with your children. Set time aside. This could be just like a one-time conversation at night, in the morning. Get up Saturday morning, make your coffee. When the kids get up, make breakfast, do what you need to do, but set time aside to work with them to create the best passwords possible. Did you know that a majority of individuals use passwords that are easy to remember? Basic passwords like ABC123, password 123. They use various characters from the keyboard that are easy to remember, their pets' names, a street they lived on. A lot of parents even use their kids' names. When I had a conversation with my mom, my dad, and my sister, we found time, we had dinner, broke bread together, and we discussed the importance of passwords, how to create a strong password. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to provide you some guidance on how to start this discussion with your children and how to have an ongoing conversation to make sure they have the best protective armor possible. Step 1, use a minimum length of 8 characters. Include at least one hashtag or $ or @ symbol, asterisk, something a little bit different. Use a combination of upper and lowercase letters and at least one number. Disable automatic sign-in, because what that does and what automatic sign-in is used for is for convenience. It's so when you go to your computer, you go into Facebook, it remembers you from last time. It already populates your email and password. It's for convenience rather than for security. And eventually, we just forget our password because we've had that automatic sign-in. It's not advised for you to do that. Use a different password for different online accounts. Protect your accounts, especially for your banking. Never share your passwords and really have a conversation with your children about this, except amongst your family. My family, we know each other's passwords. It's written down in a secure place at our house, and God forbid anything happens to my family. At least I can get access to their accounts and vice versa. So this is what I want you to do, folks. I want you to give your child a piece of paper, a pen, and an envelope, and have them go into another room and write down their email, social media accounts, anything they do online, any games that they play, and the passwords associated to them. And do the same. Put down your accounts and passwords on that envelope as well. Fold it up, put it into a secure drawer in your house, and let your child know that they are writing the passwords down because you need to help build trust with them. And let your child know you're going to do spot checks on their device within their accounts. It's not to spy on everything that they're doing. It's to ensure that they haven't changed the passwords to the accounts behind your back so you can keep ongoing trust with them. If they've changed the passwords and they haven't updated the envelope, they've lost your trust and ultimately possibly lose the device as a consequence that you've lent them. Have some fun with this. Create passwords for different accounts. And about every 6 months, go back and refresh the passwords, change them. There's also something that you can enable called a password manager. I've given you 2 options here, and what a password manager is I've set this up on my mother's device because she has times where she signs into her accounts and she forgets her passwords. How do we remember all the passwords for all the accounts we use? Well, a password manager allows you to do that. You download a password manager on your phone or on your computer. You remember one password to get in the vault of this password manager and where you can store the rest of your accounts, email addresses, and everything in there. This is something that is going to really benefit you, I promise. There's one thing that's also known as two-factor authentication. And what two-factor authentication is, it's an extra layer of security to get into your device. It's not for convenience rather than for security. And you're going to hear me say that a lot throughout today. Two-factor authentication you can enable on your email addresses, your social media accounts, your online banking. And so when you sign into your accounts, you put in a password. You put in a username or email address. What two-factor authentication does, it's a second layer of security process. Once you've put in the correct password, you get a secure code sent to your phone. It's a one-time code that you then put on the screen to really confirm that this is you. It's just an extra layer and an extra security process that helps verify that it's not someone else trying to get into your accounts. How to enable this? Well, it's as easy as going into Google and just typing in how to enable two-factor authentication for, and just fill in the blank. Snapchat, Google, banking, email. A majority of accounts online, you can now enable two-factor authentication. One thing that I also want you to do, and I want you to work with your children to do this, because many of your devices, like your laptops, your phone, your tablets, They have a camera built into it. But this isn't meant to scare you. Again, it's all about education. But what if I told you that there are people out there in the world who can turn on your laptop's camera and record what's happening in front of it without you even knowing that it's turned on, without that light coming on your laptop camera? What if this laptop is set up in the bedroom of your children? Someone could potentially watch and record what you do in the bedroom without you even knowing about it. Oh, this is like winning the lottery. It's rare, but it's a lottery we don't want to win. So how do they do this? Well, they infect your computer with what's known as a RAT. Yes, a RAT, R-A-T, a remote access Trojan virus that installs this program, again, without you even knowing. And they will send you a link to click on, something like, can you believe what just happened to this celebrity? Click here for more. And as soon as you do, the malware program will install. So don't open links from someone you don't know or links that look kind of suspicious. Be careful where you're accessing Wi-Fi as well. The Starbucks, the airport, the local coffee shops, that's public, unsecure Wi-Fi with the potential of anybody having the ability to watch what you're doing online. Not just through potentially your web camera, if you've clicked on a link, but actually all the usernames, passwords, and information that you search every time you type a keystroke. Worst case scenario, but we always advise not using public Wi-Fi. But to end this off, I want you to go through the devices in your house, anything that has a camera, and put a piece of black tape or just tape in general that's not going to ruin the camera. When you want to take a photo, just take the piece of tape off. Again, it's all about security over convenience. On a complete, well, sort of side note, if you are an individual who has security cameras installed in your home, make sure that the default password is changed. Because individuals will search online and guess that default password and maybe be able to gain access into the security cameras that are there to protect you. All right, folks, let's switch gears here for a second and talk about Snapchat. Now, unfortunately, we do not have time to go through the ins and outs of this application, but there's a few ways where you can further your knowledge to understand how popular this application is with our children. First off, the guide that we've given you explains the ins and outs of this application, but I really suggest that you work with your children and have them explain to you how they use it. Ask them how they send a photo, a video, how to put cool filters on your pictures and videos, and how to text within the platform. Now, how do you access SnapMap? Well, you open up the application of Snapchat. You find that upside down looking raindrop feature, which is the location feature tag that you may see and the symbol that you may see, which references a location. Now, when you click on that, it gives you the ability to pinpoint on a map where all of your Snapchat friends are. Yes, we know this is kind of invasive, and we'll talk about some positives and some negatives that go along with it. You'll notice my friend. Look at her in the airplane. Why is she in that airplane? Because she has Snapchat on her phone. Snapchat knows that she's crossing a body of water right now. Most likely she is not swimming. She is not in a boat. She's probably in a plane. So they put her in a plane to signify to her friends that she's traveling and going from one place to another. You have the ability to pinpoint and see what your friends are doing. If a friend is driving, you can see that, because Snapchat picks up on the speed that an individual is going, and there's probably no chance that they can run or walk that fast, so they're most likely in a motorized vehicle. You can actually zoom into your friend if they are in a car and watch them as they turn and turn down the street. And maybe when they get where they need to go, you then have the ability to pinpoint exactly which building that they go in. It's quite accurate. But for you concerned parents, of course, there is the ability to turn that feature off. By getting into SnapMap, you need to look for the gear icon in the top right corner. That gear icon will bring you to a window and allow you to enable ghost mode. Essentially what that means is you ghost yourself from your friends seeing your location, but your friends are still viewable and you can creep on them and see where their location is. Now, we need to understand as well, you'll notice in the ghost mode feature screen that just below that, you have the ability to choose just a few select friends to see your location. Maybe you download the application of Snapchat as an adult, as a parent, and ask your child to be friends with you and only allow them access to location so you can view it and just a few select friends. This is also a great opportunity for you to talk with your child or children about who they have in their friends list on Snapchat. A lot of our students, a lot of our children, they put the username to their Snapchat in the bio of all their other social media accounts. And so what's stopping a complete stranger from looking at their accounts and adding them as a friend on Snapchat to potentially see their location? Have a conversation with them. And for you with children who are younger, you almost need to do an audit of their accounts monthly, weekly, and that is up to you. And have a conversation about who they're allowing in. Conversation again, as we always stress, about what a friend is, what a stranger is, and how it's almost a little bit different, or they feel it's different when it comes to the digital world. Again, there are many features and many applications and many parental monitoring software capabilities that you can monitor your child's location. I mean, you can do it here, but if you want, we will provide some guidance and some applications for you at the end of today's presentation if you choose to monitor your child via their smartphone device. Have fun with this application. Again, it is the main way that our youth are communicating together or within a group. And this application has almost been out for 10 years now, and it will continue to evolve, and our youth will continue to use it. So I suggest for you as a parent to really understand the ins and outs of this application. But most importantly, work with your child and ask questions. Have them talk about how they use it and the pros and cons that go along with this application. I think it's important to talk about what's known as a Vault app, also known as a ghost photo or decoy app, among other names, is a tool people can use to hide pictures and videos and sometimes calls and texts. Most commonly, a Vault app may look like a calculator, like an already existing icon on your device, but entering a secret code unlocks a private folder. You know, Vault apps are popular with adolescents who use them to hide activities such as sexting from their parents. They're also useful for preventing, a nosy friend from peeking into your photo camera roll and seeing something you want to keep private. Some Vault apps can also take photos and videos with the screen off and no shutter sound. Some apps even sound an alarm or take a picture with the front-facing camera if someone tries to break into the Vault. And if you're a parent, you should know whether your child is using one of these apps to send or receive nefarious content or take photos or videos of others without them knowing. Sharing sexually explicit photos with others means you no longer have control over them. And they could wind up floating around the internet, causing embarrassment or even affecting future university or job prospects. And at worst, sharing sexually explicit photos with minors can get your kids in serious trouble, despite being minors themselves. And we find a lot of students are using Vault apps to hide nefarious content. So this is how to recognize secret or Vault apps on your child's phone. Open up the phone and visit the App Store and search for an app called Vault app or Hide Photos or Secret app. And if it says open, well, your child has the app. If it says get, your child does not have the app. The cloud logo means your child had the app, but since deleted it. And I think it's important to understand what your child has had and what they have deleted. And maybe it's something they've just deleted, knowing that you're about to check their phone. So when you visit the App Store and you click on that logo, which means that your account is signed in, I want you to go to Purchased. And once you go to Purchased, you can go to All and Not on this phone, and it'll give you a list on applications that are currently on or have since been deleted off a device. Further to that, every app that accesses photos, videos, needs access to the photos. So actually, if you go to Settings, Privacy, and Photos, you will now be able to see every app on the device that has access to the photo gallery. So why is there a calculator in there? Why is there an application that looks suspicious that shouldn't have access to that photo gallery? Another thing to be aware of is that you have now the ability to hide your apps. And so it's very important that when you are going through your child's device, you physically click on every single app. Because what you can do is change the icon on an app to something different. Why is there 2 weather icons here? Why is there 2 calculators? We click on one, and it's the weather. But we click on the next one, and it goes to a hidden app. We click on the calculator, and it works. But the other calculator may go to something else. We also have the Vault app calculator. So again, it's important that what you see on the device is maybe not always what you get. With the new update on the iPhone, you now have the ability to change the icon on any app that you want. The icon that you see is not necessarily what the app is going to be. Further to that, getting into the Android or Google Play Store, I want you to click on those 3 lines in the top corner of your device. I then want you to click on Apps and Games and go to Library. This will be able to tell you now on that Android or Google Play phone what has been on the device and or since been deleted. You can also further go to myactivity.google.com, and this will give you an insight into all the activity that has been searched while someone has been signed into their account. When you search for something and you're logged into your account and maybe your child deletes the history on the device, well, it'll be stored because Google stores everything that we do. And this is a website that you can go to find information where your child thought they could delete the history on their device, but it will be saved on their activity via their Google login. Another way to hide photos and videos on your device is through Snapchat. When you open up Snapchat, it'll come to this screen. You then have the ability to click on these 2 overlapping, what looks to be cards. Once you click on that, it'll bring you to a hidden photo gallery. This hidden photo gallery is completely separate than the gallery on your phone. Now, not every photo that someone takes will end up in this memories photo gallery, as it's called. To upload photos from your phone's camera roll, you can click on the camera roll at the top of the screen in the middle. Not all of the accounts, though, will have this My Eyes Only. And as you, as the user, need to first off initiate the My Eyes Only, because what the My Eyes Only section is a password protected portion in an already hidden photo gallery. So it's important that if you're going through the camera roll on your child's phone, you understand that there is the ability to hide photos and videos into a secret folder built within Snapchat. Technology is an amazing tool that can create so much opportunity for our generation. However, early education is important. We feel that you almost need to start having adult conversations with your children at younger ages and talk about ways to get out of uncomfortable situations. You know, what would you do if a stranger reaches out to you? What would you do if you came across something inappropriate? What about if someone said something negative to you? But what about the conversation about sex? Yeah, this conversation needs to happen at almost a younger and younger ages. If we're giving our children a device at younger and younger ages with access to the outside world, this conversation needs to happen. If we're dealing with children as young as grade 5, sexting. Yes, grade 5. And of course now, with an increase in sextortion, we need to set our children up for success. Now, this isn't meant to scare you because technology truly is creating opportunity for our youth, but we can't be naive to the fact that there are some very dangerous things that can come with giving our children access to the world at their fingertips. I think it's important that you, as a parent, start the conversation about technology, social media, and smartphones as early as possible. Hopefully before your child starts to tell you daily that they're the only student in class without a device. We need to start having conversations about catfishing. Not this catfishing. This catfishing. And how easy it is to create a fake account. This individual right here, this profile is a textbook sextortion, because this is a real life case that solicited naked photos from 3 individuals between the age of 10 to 13 and then extorted them. This account, which was highly curated, changed even the bio to their account to the school that they were targeting. This account found students identifying themselves as living in that area, and then this account messaged these students and talked to them for upwards up to 6 months. Built a relationship, built trust, until this account asked for sexually explicit photos of the individuals they were talking to. And it was all done via what's known as your DMs, or direct messages. When you go into your child's social media platforms, and that's what we encourage you to do, not to look through everything, but especially at younger and younger ages, as they're first starting off with social media, on Instagram, in the top right corner of their account, this airplane-looking icon is how you access their direct messages. When you open up their chat history on Snapchat, anything in the blue will signify that a chat message is happening. If they have Twitter, that envelope icon, and TikTok, the inbox. Again, we encourage you to see who is messaging them in their direct messages or who they are messaging, especially at younger and younger ages. But also have the conversation about sexting. The definition encompasses everything from sexually explicit photos to descriptions of sexual or lewd acts, whether they are sent to a willing recipient partaking in the sexting or to someone else as a threat or form of harassment. There is no doubt about the tremendous influence smartphones have on our everyday lives. The use of text messaging has skyrocketed in recent decades. Research has shown that over 15 million texts are sent every minute, and this number is expected to continue to increase. The use of text messages to send sexually explicit photographs and messages has been coined as sexting. Though it may seem harmless to those engaging in that act, sexting or sending explicit and provocative text messages and photos to another person could lead to legal trouble, especially among teenagers, as this act has grown in popularity over the past few years. Criminal law attorneys are seeing more instances where those engaging in this act are facing very serious legal consequences. Teenagers who engage in sexting should pay special attention, as state laws in Texas are strict and could leave them with a criminal record. According to Texas Penal Code, sexting is defined as sending of texts containing sexual images or sexually suggestive language to another person. Talk to them. Have this uncomfortable topic. Conversation. Discussion. I know it might be awkward, but we are setting them up for success. But we also need to have that conversation about sextortion. It's where they've accidentally or purposely sent an image, and it's now being used against them. We need to ensure that our youth come to us, come to a trusted adult when they've made this mistake. We need to ensure that they will tell a trusted adult if their friends have made this mistake, so we can find the person who is causing them harm. So here are some conversations to have. Use media stories about this issue to engage in a conversation with your teen. It can be very difficult to get teenagers to open up about things that are going on in their lives, especially if it involves sexuality and dating relationships. An effective way to talk about this issue, and others, is to use real-life stories from the media involving other teens. Seize the opportunity to discuss the risks and what could have been done differently. Hopefully your teenager is less likely to become defensive when the scenario is not personally about them. This can creatively open a door for your child to weave in something that has happened to him or her or their peers. Discuss the difference between healthy relationships and unhealthy relationships. Remind your teen that pressure from a boyfriend or girlfriend to engage in sexual conversations or share sexual images or videos does not constitute a caring relationship. Relationships involve respect, dignity, trust, honesty, kindness, loyalty, acceptance. That's important. Explain the importance of establishing and respecting personal boundaries. The information your teen has shared, as well as the information others have shared with your teen, should be protected and handled with respect. And emphasize that this continues to apply once a relationship has come to an end. Discuss problems that may arise from sharing private and sexual information. Once information is sent, it can be easily misused. This may include showing it to friends, sending or posting it online, or using it to manipulate the other person. Right? Discuss ways to get out of uncomfortable situations. Teach your child how to get out of unwanted conversations. Some direct ways of getting out of uncomfortable situations include refusing to do something by saying, I don't want to, no thank you, or discontinuing contact by not responding to a message and deleting or blocking the person. Indirect ways of ending a conversation include making excuses such as, I have to go out with my family, or blaming my parents. My mom checks my computer randomly. I wouldn't want to get grounded. Discuss the importance of seeking your help or a trusted adult's help if things have gone too far. Explain the importance of seeking help without fear of getting into trouble. Reinforce that it's never too late to ask for help, even if they have made a mistake or are embarrassed about what has happened. Emphasize with your child that their safety is number one. Big question that I always get asked is, Nick, what is the right age to get my child a phone? I think that's a great question. And the right age to give your child their very first phone is, well, really up to you. Age isn't as important as your child's maturity level, ability to follow home and school rules, and their sense of responsibility and your own family needs. Getting your child their very first phone is a very personal and individual decision, but lots of children start asking for them and, receiving them as early as elementary school. And that kind of peer pressure makes it tougher for parents who want to hold off and delay the inevitable. But stand firm, parents. Remember, we're trying to be our children's best parent possible, not their best friend. When you hand your child a cell phone and a device, you're giving them a very, very powerful piece of equipment. They can create text messages, images, videos that can be widely distributed and uploaded to websites instantly. Parents really need to consider whether their child is ready to use the phone responsibly and respectfully. Social media apps will also have various age restrictions, generally stating that you must be at least 13 years of age or older to join. And we advise that parents check the rules and regulations specific to each platform before letting your child participate. And this is something you should do with them. Read together the terms of terms of service, to see what you're really agreeing to and what is happening to the info that you give them when signing up for that specific platform. And although age restrictions are there for a reason, parents might consider other factors before giving your children the key to the outside world. Ask yourself if your child is mentally ready to be plugged into the outside world. And so let me ask you a kind of a weird question, and I promise I'm going somewhere with this. Would you be okay with your child walking the streets of downtown alone? Somewhere in the crowd here. I ask this because I think we really need to treat what we do online and what we do in the real world as sort of the same. There are consequences for everything we do in life, both good and bad, and just because we do it online, we can't make the excuse, it was just online, so it doesn't really matter. And I asked you that question because when you give them a device, you are not only allowing them to walk the downtown streets alone, but you are allowing them to visit other cities around the world and giving them a far greater reach to other places. We must remind our children that it's our job to raise them into healthy young members of society that can function in a world and coexist with technology and not be ruled by it. Setting ground rules and maintaining an open line of communication helps to manage both expectation and consequences. Maybe you both work together to learn more about the application they want. Or maybe you have them show you how it works and talk about the pros and cons with the application they want. Maybe the rule is that they use it on your phone first to show you they can make responsible decisions and help build trust before they have full access to it on their own. Which, by the way, again, the device that you have most likely bought and are lending it to them. Your device, your rules. And the parameters of rules and expectations that you put in place at home will undoubtedly guide your children's behavior in the years to come. You know, given the fact that technology has entered our lives at such a rapid pace and continues to evolve, raising our children in a digital era can seem overwhelming at times. Treat the smartphone as a vehicle. You know, with a new teen driver, you sit in the passenger seat with them, you buckle up for safety, and guide them on the ins and outs of the road. You would never toss the keys to your child when they first get their license and say, "Here you go, here's the keys, good luck, have fun. Let me know how you did when you get back." See, we need to treat technology in the same way. Sit in the passenger seat with them as you play video games or as they use social media. Ask questions and have them share with you the pros and cons specific to the apps and games. In the end, building an open line and caring communication is important, and we must remind our children that life is all about living and learning from our mistakes. You can remind them if they mess up that you will take away their device and you will sit down with them and talk about it, because you both are learning. You both will start over again, and that you're constantly learning with them. Constantly remind them you are on their team and that you love them and that you're in this together. So let's talk about some parental monitoring apps. And there's a reason why I've put this at the end. Here are some applications that have been suggested to us by other parents around North America. But do not use these apps and think it will keep your children safe. This is a start. There are ways to get around everything on the internet, and it's important to establish an open line of communication and be transparent with your children if you decide to use these applications. Remember, you are building trust. And if they find out you put this application on their phone and went behind their back and hid these controls on them, maybe a trust has been broken. This is a secondary from starting that open line of communication with them. Each one of these parental monitoring applications will have different capabilities. One you can put on a phone, one you put at home on the Wi-Fi to restrict and block negative websites, monitor incoming messages, provide with you hourly screenshots on what your child is doing on their device. And so we encourage you to go to every website, as it will share with you what the app can or cannot do, because each one of your households are different and you may have different needs than another household. Although various apps that you use on your phone are concerning, there are age restrictions for a majority of the apps out there. But what you can do is, through your iPhone settings, you go to screen time. You then go to use screen time passcode. You enable a passcode. Once you've enabled a passcode, you can go to content restrictions and apps. And this allows you to block apps on your device. It actually hides the apps on your device, so maybe your child can use your phone without those applications being viewable. That they will only focus on the age restriction apps that are appropriate to them while you give them your device to use. As well, on the Android phones, going into your settings, clicking on Google. Once you click on Google, you will scroll down until you go parental controls. And within parental controls, you will get started. This is what's setting up your family link. You will set up your family link. You will go into your Google Play Store and install the application and allow you to identify yourself as a parent. Download this on your child's phone. Identify them as a child, and you will be able to monitor, restrict access, and set time limits on your child's device. All right, folks, we are getting towards that time, the end of the session. Are you overwhelmed? Are you excited? Are we educated? Hopefully a little bit of everything. Hopefully you at least know how to spark a conversation, discussion with your child or children. It's so important to have that ongoing dialogue. So let's talk about a few things. First, just do your own research. Be familiar with the games and applications your children are using. When they're playing that game, go sit next to them. Show interest. Ask them about the pros and cons that go along with that application. It's important that you have an ongoing discussion throughout the weeks, the months, and discuss things like privacy settings, how important it is to create the best accounts and make it private. And for those of you with seniors, talk about the importance that when they get to their senior year and they start to apply for scholarships and jobs and opportunities, that maybe it's about that time when they've created the best digital tattoo possible that they open their account to allow that recruiter that is searching them to see their profile, which may be the tipping point to getting them into that opportunity. Talk about the information they're posting, like who they're friends with, who they're allowing into their accounts. And this is why it's important that you as a parent go and almost do an audit of your especially younger kids' followers and friends list. When they're first starting out, have a conversation and talk about it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when a complete stranger requests to follow or be friends with your child online. So it's imperative for you as a parent to do an audit and physically sit down with your kids and ask them how they know every individual that's friends with them. Talk about the importance of really understanding what a friend and a stranger is and how to get rid of them offline. Talk about what information's being shared. The importance of looking behind that picture or video to understand if we've been giving out way too much information. The importance of creating a strong password. Make this like a half an hour conversation, an hour. Have fun with it, but create those strong passwords that will provide the best armor for your accounts. Talk about the permanence. Teach them to be the best critical thinkers possible. And most importantly, promote and talk and always have that discussion about the permanence of the internet and that the internet may forgive, but it'll never forget that the minute they press send, it is very, very hard to get that image, that video, or that comment back. Talk about ways to deal with uncomfortable situations. It's not a matter of, again, if, but when they are confronted with an uncomfortable situation. Role play scenarios with them. All right, son and daughter, what happens if a stranger reaches out to you? What happens if a stranger comes and talks to you online? What happens if someone says or does something online that makes you feel scared, uncomfortable, nervous? And then provide with them multiple ways on how to deal with that. Talk about ways on how to best support themselves and the friends around them. Talk about ensuring that they have a trusted adult. Is there a reporting tool for the specific school that they attend? Provide with them multiple ways on how to best support themselves and their friends, because we know students are struggling online. But we need our students to be the best human detectors possible, to be able to stand up and say they're struggling, or if they see someone else also struggling. But most importantly, do not take your child's device away after this session. Learn to work with your children, not against them. But remember as well, you're trying to be your child's best parent, not their best friend. And that device that is in their hands is one that you have lent them to share with you that they can use it for good. Provide you some resources, a guide for cyber safety and digital responsibility. It will also further guide you through information we went through today. Visiting saferschoolstogether.com, our resource section, professional resources that are available for you as a parent. Many parent resources such as internet lingo and slang terms, getting you down into the nitty-gritty on how our youth are communicating online. Talking about a sexting safety agreement. There's one in there as well if you so choose. If you happen to want to do some further reading, here are 2 books that have been suggested to us by other parents around North America. Help to find a balance when it comes to the usage of social media and technology through various age groups. Folks, if technology is something that you want to swear off completely, that will never happen because technology is here to stay, but here are some low-tech gifts. Worked for us once upon a time ago. Your friends and family and loved ones may hate you for getting one of these devices for them, but we really need to understand that technology is a privilege, not a right. And technology is here to stay. So I want to thank you so much for allowing me to guide you through this journey. I hope I didn't overwhelm you too much. Hopefully I educated you, empowered you to start a discussion, start a dialogue, be able to go and proactively start slowly by implementing some basic steps, basic conversations, ongoing. Work with your child, not against them. Ensure that they can make smart choices online. Technology is here to stay, and we want to make sure that they're using it for good. So I want to thank you so much. Hopefully you can take away one thing from today to ensure that you can keep your children safe. So on behalf of the Texas School Safety Center and Safer Schools Together, enjoy the rest of your day. God bless. Take care. And I hope to be in touch soon. All the best, everyone.